I heard applause, but that's for after. That's for you. Congratulations, welcome. I'll do the congratulations at the end of this session, but I already wanted to inform you of what we're going to do. My name is Jamal Shaheen. I'm the program director for the Euromaster. And as you can see on the screen, I'm also here with my colleague Liliana Lizarazo Rodriguez, who is the program director of the LLM. We are here to launch the graduation ceremony for the Brussels School of Governance for this academic year. I'll say a few words before we move into the entire thing, and you can get your certificates. And of course, please don't forget there's food afterwards, which is probably one of the important elements of this as well. It's really good to see you all. It's been quite a while in some cases, and I'm very happy to meet you, but also to meet you in this space where we see other people who are close to you, who can actually share this moment with you. This has not been the case for a few years, so we're really happy that we can do this together with you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for making the effort to coming. We made it. You made it. It's been tough. It's been a challenging period. For some of you, it's been quite a long period that has involved several moments of isolation, confinement, different health issues, and so on and so forth. But you all made it, and we're not here to shed tears of sadness, but here to shed tears of joy, and to talk about how this period, this past year or 2 years in some cases, has actually built up some resilience in you and shown how you, as a body of graduates now, have been able to combat some of these constraints that have been put in front of you. You've had to deal with children. Many of you have had to deal with children. Actually, I've been hearing along the line. So congratulations to all of you. But you've had to deal with quite some telling moments and some testing moments in this period, and you've been able to overcome many of these moments. And we're here in blue and a kind of orange that looks a bit more red to me, but maybe I'm colorblind. You're here to celebrate in all of these colors, to celebrate the fact that you are now experts in European policy, law issues, to celebrate that you've actually been able to complete your degree programs, and to celebrate the fact that when you walk out of this room, you will have the ability to collect your diploma, because they're not quite ready, but they will be ready. In fact, the formal part is the proclamation or the conferment that will take place later on this in a few minutes. So without further ado, I will pass the floor to Liliana, who will also introduce the session, introduce the next speakers, and we'll be acting as the masters of ceremony. So we'll be popping up every now and again to introduce various parts of this event, and look forward to also talking to you at the end of the event. So congratulations once again.
So good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here today. Very happy, as Jamal said, that we can meet to celebrate this specific event today without need for social distance. This is really an event that we have not had for the last 3 years. So I think that is very important. It's a very important moment for you, but it's also very important for the university. I would like to address a few words to the students of the LLM. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very proud of you. I think that you performed fantastically in the middle of many difficulties that we encountered during the whole year. But I would like also to thank all the professors from the LLM and also the BSoG Brussels School of Governance team, because we managed to go through the academic year in the middle of the Delta wave, in the middle of the Omicron wave, and we managed to have practically all the courses on campus. So this is something that it was really complex at certain moments of the year, but at the end we could manage to this. So I'm very happy that we are here celebrating your graduation. Just a few words connected to what Jamal said. I think that in any case, I am also aware that the difficulties that we have had this year and the ones that we have now with the war show us that we have to be quite prepared to deal with the difficulties, particularly that you have to go to the university in the middle of a pandemic and also in the middle of the war. That also show that we are more or less interconnected, or we are inevitably interconnected, because what happens in China will affect Costa Rica, or the war in Ukraine is making that Europeans don't get access to affordable energy, for instance. And also how we consume here will define how ecosystems are protected in other continents. But it is only to say that particularly the students from the LLM that I know more, that I am also happy that you could go beyond acquiring hard skills, because I witnessed that you made a nice group, you reach cohesion within the group, and in the midst of diversity. You are still very, I know that you talk weekly, and I think that this is very important, because this is the type of soft skills that you need for your lives, but it's also the type of citizens that the world needs. So without more introductions, I think that I will give the floor to Professor Luc Soete, our Dean. He is also the brain behind the origin of the Brussels School of Governance, which is the result of an alliance between the IS, Institute for European Studies, and Vesalius College. And he was Rector Magnificus at the University of Maastricht. So please, Professor Soete.
Thanks very much, Liliana. Thanks very much also, Jamal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, students, you know, this is the first time I'm physically here at a graduation after 3 years. So it is pretty amazing to see all of you physically after these tough years of COVID, and of course this distance education, which we all thought would solve the problems of the lack of physical presence, etc. But I would like, in the first instance, of course, to congratulate all of you. This have been indeed 1-2 years in which you have been able to, well, to satisfy the criteria, as we will hear later from Jamal and from Liliana, to get a degree in very difficult circumstances. And you know, this is, you could, I would say, view this in a very optimistic sense. That is that you have learned how to be resilient in very difficult circumstances. Liliana already hinted at the fact that you had to deal with the crisis in education itself, the crisis that we could not deliver physically these courses, that you had to do it online. It wasn't just following these courses online, it was also succeeding in the exams. And so the fact that you did this, and some of you, the ones on the Euromaster, over 2 years, really the 2 years of the COVID pandemic, and that you are here with us now physically getting your degree, is pretty extraordinary. So I would say this is a cohort of resilient students. And I think why this is important is because the future, as Liliana just mentioned, is one with a lot of uncertainties. We are not just closing the book of COVID. No, it's still there. And we all are dealing with new crises, the energy crisis, the purchasing power crisis, the security crisis. And what that means for European integration is something which I'm looking very much to you to get new insights on. Because we are in a process of economic integration where we thought we had successfully integrated a lot of activities, production activities, agriculture. aspects of a European court, various other aspects about migration, about labor mobility within Europe, about knowledge mobility. And yet here we are with the biggest energy crisis we ever could think of. And suddenly we have become aware of our dependency, our total dependency on foreign fossil fuels. And how are we going to tackle this? I'm looking at the staff, of course, also of the Brussels School of Governance by saying this, but I'm also looking at you as students to help us find these solutions. Do we need a European energy policy like the global, like the European Common Agriculture Policy? What does it mean in terms of possible shifts, in terms of energy intensive activities, going more to places where there is more sustainable energy available? Think of course, sun as a natural source for green energy. What does it imply for our industrial production locations? What does it imply for competitiveness between the nations, between the 27 member nations? What does it imply for the whole legal part, which some of you who follow the LLM course have, of course, become very interested in? And we are dealing with a complete new role of the legal framework in many of our areas of what we always thought were nice disciplinary policies, economic policies, international relations policies, etc. And suddenly comes in there legal aspects which we dearly need to take into account also. So the interdisciplinary nature of what you have followed, both in the Euromaster and in the LLM, is really something which I think has been shown over the last years, that the increased insecurity in terms of risks coming to us, crises we have to deal with, are typically each features which you have learned to address, the combination of different disciplines. So I promised I wasn't going to talk too long. Rectors have the tendency to talk too long, as some of you might know. So I will keep it short. Let me just congratulate not just you, but also the parents. You made a quick, fantastic performance in delivering these kids here to us, and them, of course, getting this degree. So well done to all of you. And of course, to the staff and to our two directors. I mean, Jamal and Liliana, what a great job you did in these extremely difficult circumstances to keep going. I could give speeches to the previous graduation last year online. These were pretty boring speeches, I must say. I wouldn't have any interaction. So delightful to be here physically, and well done also to all the staff here at the Brussels School of Governance. Good luck.
Thank you, Luc. It is nice. Sometimes there's this idea that I'm finally seeing some of you physically. I know that some of you I've actually met physically, and some of you I haven't met physically. And it's always funny to see this kind of mental connection that you sometimes go, wait a minute, have I met you online or in physical situations before? I think it was with some of the students who I met once for an event, and then suddenly they said, but this is the first time we've actually physically met. And I hadn't even realized that because we've been so much teaching online. Anyway, we're very happy to introduce now our commencement speaker, Angela Liberatore, who is the head of the scientific department at the European Research Council. Angela has graciously and very willingly agreed to launch the commencement, or provide the commencement speech for this ceremony. She has a rich history in DG research in the European Commission, and has been involved in many networks. So I think that you've been involved in some of the networks that have involved the Brussels School of Governance in former lifetimes and so on. But recently, Angela has chaired the Social Protection Group for the UN Research Roadmap for COVID-19 recovery. So I think that's something that you might want to reflect on. But Angela has also been very much involved in issues of science diplomacy across the years, which is another area that has been very interesting for some of our researchers. Angela also taught on the Euromaster program many years ago. And I'm sure that she's very happy now to actually, a few years after having taught on the program, actually now welcome a new set of graduates to the program. So Angela, if you'd like to come and take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, it's a great pleasure to be here. And one of the lessons that I would like to share with you is, in whatever you do in your personal and professional life, try to leave good memories. Because when Jamal wrote this email shortly ago, should I disclose, the day before yesterday, I should, if it was not Jamal, with whom we had an excellent cooperation, if it was not VUB, where I did teach, and I would have continued if I had the time, I would probably just say, are you joking? This is so short term that I would not consider. But yeah, then I did imagine this kind of group of wonderful people in the university, and I'm passionate about research. I will tell you more about that. So I said, yes, let's do it. After all, it's a Saturday morning. Rather than doing other things, I will be in this wonderful place. Now, what I would like to share with you is that I understand some of you might be interested in pursuing a career in European Union institutions, others in international institutions, others hopefully also to continue research. They are all wonderful things to do. And you have, how to say, a competitive advantage as compared, for example, to my son, who just got a master, but in physics. If you want, he has a competitive advantage in other fields as compared to you, definitely. But, you know, if you want to join European Union or international institution, one of the important things is to know what are they, what do they do, how do they function. This is very important because in any job you want to undertake, you want to know in what you're getting yourself into. It's normally a good thing to do so that you spare yourself bad surprises, or you can benefit of the good ones. And of course, you will be able to contribute, how to say, in a sound way to what you want to do. I understand that some of you are from the European Union countries, some of you are coming from other continents. As Liliana, Jamal, Luke said before me, the world is small. We are interconnected, for good, for bad as well. So how we turn the bad into good, it's one of the jobs of the School of Governance and other places, I'm sure. But this means that also for those of you who might want to serve in international organizations or in institutions in your countries outside the European Union, knowing how this strange animal, this is what I was told when I was a fellow at the Kennedy School of Government in Harvard after my PhD. Oh, Angela, yes, we need to get you here because, I mean, you know, even for us in international relations, politics and so on, the European Union is an elusive kind of animal. You know, you do things like ex ante impact assessment. As you know, in our regulation, we have to demonstrate ex ante that this is additional and worth doing and so on. And for some mentalities, normally you can do impact assessment after you have the impact, just to give you some elements, just anecdotes. The other thing you definitely need to know is yourself. Well, Jamal omitted that my first degree is in philosophy in my hometown, Bologna. So when I decided to study philosophy, apart from being a curiosity in my family because nobody attended university before, was philosophy. This is the recipe for long-term unemployment. I said, well, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. So I did philosophy. And then I did something even wrong, a thesis in an interdisciplinary topic between philosophy and economics. Well, that's really, you know, over for you because in academia, you need to know whether you're a philosopher or an economist or something else. So I went in a PhD in political and social sciences. at the European University Institute, close to my hometown, but in Florence this time. And also there, I did something which was not mainstream. At that time, Liliana, doing a PhD on the responses to the Chernobyl accident and working on an international project on environmental crisis of all kinds, was not yet mainstream. Liliana is much younger than me. This is why I can say that. But you know, I found it was what I wanted to do. And then I knew two things. I knew that I was passionate about research, and I knew I was passionate about European integration. So then a decision had to come. Either I would pursue my research doing the normal thing of many Italians, brain draining and so on, staying in the US or returning to the US, or sticking to Europe, but doing something else, not doing my own research, but helping others to do research. And then I thought, well, that's an interesting option. It was not part of my initial design, but then I knew this is really something I could want to do, even if it was not part of the initial design, because it was keeping me in research from a different angle, and it was allowing me to serve a project that I still think, with all its limitations, problems, and so on, it's one of the projects really worth working for, European integration. So you need to know yourself what you want. So this is not just because my first degree is in philosophy, so I'm still with Socrates, know yourself, but it's really because this is a receipt. I saw many people who got very confused about whether it was worth pursuing a certain career or having less resilience in going through difficulties, and there are difficulties, whatever we do in our life, one day or another. So if you have this inner motivation of, yes, I'm doing this, even if it is hard, even if there are difficulties, then you can be resilient. If you're wondering, why the hell I'm doing this? Why I'm here? Well, that's also a good question. It means you're not in the right place. Maybe your talent, passions, interests are taking you somewhere else. I think with this, I will close. Know yourself, know the place you want to be. My passion has been and continues to be research and European integration. I was fortunate. I could work. Next year will be 30 years. It will be a special celebration for me of serving the European institutions. I did all the time serve Europe in research. And when I was asked, Angela, but why don't you change? You have been spending 20 years in DG Research and Innovation, and now you're at the European Research Council. Isn't that all the same? And I smile because I said, look, through research, I could address any topic of importance. I started in the environment climate program, the only social scientist there. So I was working with my colleagues in climate and environment, and I was in Kyoto during the negotiation of the Kyoto Protocol. Then I was part of the group of the European Commission that worked on the European paper on governance, white paper on governance. Then I was participating in issues related to migration and more recently, COVID. So through research, that's also another interesting lesson. We can address anything and in any time. And this is very important. So the last comment is for those of you who might wish to continue to do research. Doing research is good. In terms of salaries, we will not comment, but let's say that, yes, doing research might involve the fact that the salaries might not be the same as being in a large business, for example, or some precariousness, especially in some stages of research. This is what my son is contemplating. He was headhunted by a company, but he still wants to pursue a PhD. So he's asking, saying, I know that if I get a PhD, it will be precarious. And at the end of it, probably I will still have to go back to the people who are headhunting me now. But okay, that's part of processes. So if you want to do research, please go ahead. It's important. We need it. And research can take you in many interesting and different paths. And can you imagine a society without research or without nice, good universities as this one? It would be a poor society it would be a non-democratic society, and it would be definitely a non-creative and free society. So thanks for your work until now, and good luck with your future.
Angela.
Okay, so now it's time for the conferment ceremony, and I give the floor to Professor Sven van Kerkhoven. He is the Vice Dean of Education of the Brussels School of Governance. He is also professor in Business and Economics at the BSoG. Professor van Kerkhoven.
Thank you, Liliana. Okay, so this is the moment we've all been waiting for. In certain cases for 1 year, other cases for 2 years, in a very few cases for even longer. But I'm really happy that we can now move towards calling you our alumni. So it is my pleasure to convey that the Deliberation Committee has conferred that each of the graduates today has fulfilled all academic requirements to be able to be proclaimed and be awarded their respective degree. We will start with the LLM in International and European Law, and then proceed with the MSc in European Integration, also better known as the Euromaster. When I will call out your name, please come forward and take a spot, so to speak, on the second cross, so that we can also take pictures when you're handed your degree. So for the LLM in International and European Law, we will start with Raúl Ruiz Rodríguez, greatest distinction. Isabella Sacchi, greatest distinction. Elvira Gorgiadou, great distinction. Carolina Hanna Louise Rosman, great distinction. Nadine Eldekmak, great distinction. Jorge André Ferreira Fontes de Lima, but he could not be here with us. Great distinction. Isabella Ana Kazan, great distinction. Ying Lin, great distinction. Tekle Tadesse Tesfaslassi, great distinction. Jacobo Piemonte, great distinction. Then we continue with Shinme Tirotkar with merit. Onome Cynthia Anakanire with merit. So those were all of our proud LLM, now alumni. We'll continue with the Euromaster. Matias Iglesias, greatest distinction. Ruben Freddy Vincent, greatest distinction. Smiljana Kucic, greatest distinction. Ingrid Johanna Hokeberg, greatest distinction. Valentina Di Girolamo, greatest distinction. Maho Gabriel Donze Magnier, great distinction. Giulia Gasperini, great distinction. Sarah Sefica, great distinction. Catherine Ellen Fleet, great distinction. Vehim Hoti, great distinction. Matteo Tito Moretti, great distinction. Simon Paul De Decker, great distinction.
I'm so glad you're doing this.
Maria de Los Angeles Ortega Ortiz, great distinction. Gino Francisco Figueroa Moscoso, great distinction. Aphrodite Psata, great distinction. Ling Yao Wang, great distinction. Federico Maria Tereni, great distinction. Amanda Fiallo Andrade's distinction. Eleni Dioli distinction. Judy Numbi distinction. Sarah Fornosa Ortigas distinction. Vasiliki Psychogiou distinction. Adam Neville distinction. Ani Ofanisian distinction.
I don't need it.
And lastly, we still have Siji Tao with merit. Congratulations to all of you.
Now I know how Prince Charles will feel in a few weeks. But, congratulations to you all. You have the diplomas, but now the festive part starts. And we wanted to do something a bit interesting to kind of give you some good memories of this event, but also to share some of the things that you've been doing in this session. So we have a couple of theses. We have a couple of people who are going to present their thesis work to you. Right? Now, this isn't another version for the Euromaster students. This isn't another research methods lab. Right? Please don't worry about this. It will be just some brief presentations about some of the research that's been done within the institution, well, within the programs. We will have a presentation from the LLM, and we will have a presentation from the Euromaster. And we're very grateful to Isabella and Matthias for actually agreeing to do this. So first of all, congratulations to them. And thank you for being so brave to make us reconsider the degree that we just get. Oh, I'm kidding. Right. Isabella, you will start the presentation, I believe. Jess, is everything ready on the technical side for the slides? Okay, Isabella, I will pass the floor to you. Looking forward to hearing what you were looking into.
Thank you. Okay. So, hi everybody, I'm Isabella, and as you know, I'm here to introduce you my thesis in an original way. So, okay, you might be wondering who this guy is. Well, his name was Piero Angela. He's considered the best scientific divulgator that Italy has ever had. He hosted for over 30 years a very successful program called SuperQuark. Well, he explained very complex scientific topic in a simple but not superficial way. Now, why am I talking about him? Well, let's assume that Piero Angela wasn't born in the 20s of the past centuries, but in the 90s. And as most millennials or Gen Z, he would open a YouTube channel or an Instagram channel where he would do the same kind of scientific divulgation, but online on YouTube. Well, he would fall under the definition of content creator. So he would start to grow an audience, and he would start to practice this professionally. Now, he would be, as I said, a content creator on social media. Social media are private businesses or private companies, but they de facto manage a public space where almost 4 billion people share their ideas and share information. We can say that nowadays most culture and information is developed and spread over social media. Now, going back to our young Piero, let's imagine that one day he decides to upload a video where he explained the sexual habits of certain animal species. But then YouTube decides to demonetize his video because it contains certain words that, if decontextualized, are considered inappropriate. Now, he may have worked on that video for weeks, and this demonetization, it would be a content moderation policy measure that YouTube has implemented over his video. And although these content moderation measures are necessary to prevent the spread of illegal or harmful content online, at the same time, they can be also very detrimental for the very important rights, such as the right of freedom of expression of content creators, but also the right of their audience to get information, and in their specific case of content creators, also the right to conduct a business. Well, I try to deal with very complex topic in light of the Digital Services Act, which is a new regulation that had been approved last week, by the way, new European regulation that, among many other things, deals also with content moderation. And it's tries to put human rights under the spotlights, and it should provide also more transparency on content moderation policy implemented by not only social media, but in general online platforms. And if effectively implemented, it should enable content creators, but users in general, to have their voice heard, their rights respected, to the benefits of their own, but also to the benefit of their audience. So yeah, in a nutshell, that was my thesis. Thank you for your attention.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, well, it's fine. Well, so if I make a mistake now, it will not be noticed. Or without the sound? No. Okay, that's fine. It's part of it. So the idea is that space has become increasingly congested and contested as new actors have entered the scene, escalating the risks of accidental collisions in space. At the same time, militaries around the world have been developing anti-satellite weapons as part of their military plans. By applying content analysis to more than 50 EU official documents, this thesis shows how security concerns contributed to the integration of EU space policy. Protecting satellites is too big a challenge for any EU state alone.
Security in space remains of paramount importance for the daily lives of EU citizens, EU strategic autonomy, and the EU's role in the world. However, the regulation establishing the EU space program does not mention the threat of anti-satellite weapons yet, or any active measures against them, not to raise any sovereignty concerns from member states. But how much longer can the EU pretend that the space threats are only natural or unintentional? Thank you for your attention. If you want to find out more, the thesis, Contributions of Security to the Integration of EU Space Policy. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we will continue with the thesis awards. We grant this award to students that get the greatest distinction during the first examination period of the year. For the LLM, it's a pleasure to grant this award to Isabella Sacchi for his thesis.
And after such a presentation, how could we not award Matthias with However, the fun isn't over yet because we would like to ask Catherine to come to the floor as well. Catherine Fleet, you also received the Best Thesis Award. And there's one more. Valentina, would you please come to the floor? Okay, so now we've had some thesis presentations. Now we get a chance to hear from some representatives of the student body to give the what we call the valedictorian speech. I'm not actually sure of the origins of this work, so if, somebody must know, but it means that somebody is going to give a speech of a few minutes recounting the year, recounting some experiences and so on and so forth. And we're very happy we will have one from each group, right? So, so the first valedictorian speaker will be Smiljana Kucic. Smee.
Time management. So I'm not going to go with some classy quotes. It's going to be a personal story, my vision of my 2 years here, that I really hope that some of you will be able to feel also as their own. But before I start, how many of you have done a 2-year course here? Wow, quite a lot of people. And 1 year? Okay, so a question, how did you feel in the very beginning of your studies and how do you feel now? Mao.
Anxious.
Okay.
Liberated now.
There we go. Not to be that this is a pre-scripted thing because I know the person. How did you feel in the beginning? Equally. Okay, so that's good. We all more or less feel the same. So in the very beginning, when I started my studies, I felt very enthusiastic. A new journey, somewhere I can use all those hundreds of pages of how EU institutions work, that I can finally put it to work. And then in the end, once I gave in my last exam, or maybe some cases, the thesis, I wasn't sure what I'm going to do tomorrow. There's no essays to write. There's no more academic articles to read. The world felt empty. But it was also liberating, as two students said. This was like quite an intense 2-year journey, and where we went from following the theme that was already presented as from yes COVID to less COVID. In the beginning, I'm gonna not state any names, but the professor will know to whose lecture I'm referring. We had a really tough, complex, dense article to read. And then you have a professor that turns the camera off, a lot of screens around, and only a few students actually where you see the faces. We are struggling to answer his every question. And then comes a moment where he asks us, so what are your thoughts on the internal compass of members of the European Parliament in the trialogue? Even those few screens just went blank. But this is not to say that everything was so difficult, just that the fact that we were all dealing with blank screens, we were dealing with Zoom fatigue. Even worse for people that had to work because it was in parallel. You're constantly online, your whole life happens to be online. Round 2, I have to say, was a lot better. So there was now we were slowly coming back, then the new people came in, some voices finally got a visual. And it was very nice going with the after drink, with the after class drinks, being invited to, hey, I know we're not the same specialization, who wants to join for a drink? And then also going for the study groups, then thesis panic part 1, thesis panic part 2, the exams in the middle, where it was in the end, the moment where you're done with everything, and then you go on the Kali website where you're refreshing, looking at, are my grades out, have I passed? Or even in my case, like just pressing that refresh button a lot of times to see, maybe now I'm going to find out if I actually passed. And I did, although I will refer in this case to the Vice Dean. The last time that we spoke, when I told him that I'm really trying to keep my average up, he just smiled and said, you have a lot of free time on your hands. So here I am now. But all joking aside, it was a very, very humbling experience, an experience of growth that maybe at that moment I did not really appreciate it or see it like that. And when I say of growth, just maybe it's not in a manner that we expected at that time or appreciated it being delivered in that manner, but just look again, if you dare, at the essays you've wrote, at how many things you read, how many things you maybe remembered from your previous studies, how many new things you were reading, and that's a success. Look at, I'm getting aggressive. Look at all the people around you. There are a lot of also personal experience that you're going to be, I hope at least, that you're going to be taking with you, that this is not just something very temporary. And I believe that us just being here, making it, being able to receive our certificates is a really big thing, because we made it, we are here, and we are not the only ones here. Professors are also here, and they had to deal with it. As a student representative, I had the chance of seeing in the background what's happening, and they were struggling with the same stuff as we were. They had to face the same change in the environment. They had to reinvent the way that they would be lecturing, and they were trying to pass their academic knowledge to the best of their abilities. And I want to thank you actually for for that one, and please an applause. In a nutshell, because this is almost 6 minutes, so I'm 1 minute over. Congrats to all of us for making it. An applause.
Okay, so now it's my turn to introduce the valedictorian for the LLM. Raul Ruiz Rodriguez, it's a pleasure to have you here, and you have demonstrated that you have been an excellent student with a lot of perseverance, and he even came to start the LLM from Spain, where he was, or he is still doing a PhD, and he decided to come here to do our LLM. So congratulations, Raul, please.
I must recognize I didn't time myself, so sorry if it goes on for too long, but so dear all, it's an honor for me to be here today in representation of all my colleagues and friends. It's hard to believe that a year has gone by since we started our journey at the Brussels School of Governance. The difficulties we had to endure are known only to us, however we made it through. We leave this institution more prepared to achieve our personal goals and with a better chance of facing an uncertain and complicated working environment. For this, we have to thank the organization of the program and those teachers truly involved and committed to their work who have made this degree worthwhile. So a round of applause for them. We must also thank our families, whether by blood or by choice. Both to those who are here today and to those who were not able to, thank you. Not only for the sacrifices and the considerable financial effort made, but also for the unconditional support and encouragement in the hardest moments. You are also an important part of the reason why we are here celebrating. So another round of applause. And last but not least, I would also like to focus on another key aspect that has considerably improved this experience or has actually made it bearable. And be aware, for here it comes the American movie cliché, I'm speaking about the friendships we made along the way. I remember my first days here in Brussels, a sincere curiosity about how the master would be, coupled with the sadness of leaving home and the fear of the unknown. But luckily, as soon as I set foot in the city, I had the opportunity to meet incredible people who will dispel all my doubts and help me make a home out of this new place. I think I speak for all my colleagues when I say that this year has certainly tested us all, whether personal or academic, or stay in Brussels has been full of challenges that we have gone through more or less successfully, but always together. And at the end of the academic year, I had to return to my home country to finish some other academic business there. But I must say that not a single day goes by without a memory of these guys coming to my head. And excuse me if I get a little personal here, but I must recognize that I miss crazy dinners at Dean's, enjoying his magnificent cooking skills. I miss Jacopo good mood and Jorge's constant kindness and empathy that actually made me believe in a better world. I miss Caroline's German efficiency, or the way Elvira wouldn't get upset about anything, even in those periods in which our lives were a series of unfortunate events. Also Nadine's smiles and how she looked after us all, or the peace and perspective that they could try to convey to us before every exam. I miss Bella trying to convince us all to go to Plux and making popcorn for Isa at 4 a.m. in the morning. I even miss Chima panicking and asking for notes at the very last moment. It's a strange to have all these things with me, not to have them with me all in my day-to-day life. However, I'm at peace. I know I have friends for life sitting here in the audience today, just as I know that a part of me will remain forever in this city, in the nightclubs of Plaques, in the kitchens of Standard, in the evening at Mont de les Arts, or even in Charleroi. Of course, also in the Brussels School of Governance library, but you all know what I'm trying to say. So it only remains for me to say thank you to the BUB and the Brussels School of Governance, to the city of Brussels, and especially to you guys for this year and all that it has brought with it. I only hope that the future will keep us together in one way or another, and that we will be able to celebrate our successes. Thank you.
So,
Thank you, everybody.
yes. Well, I think that now is moment to also give a bit of space to professors that were not able to be here. And they also want to congratulate you. So we are going to run a video.
Dear class of 2021-2022, this was definitely a challenging year, but you made it. Please let me congratulate you and wish you the very, very best for the next steps. Good luck.
Dear students, you made it. Congratulations. In German we say, nun liegt die Welt zu euren Füßen. The world has opened its doors for you as masters of law. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Europe Masterclass. Best of luck for all future endeavors. And remember, do what makes you happy, for that is success.
Congratulations on your graduation in the Euromaster program. I hope that some of the knowledge that you've gained about the EU's climate and energy transition will be useful for your future.
Dear students, or should I say ex-students now, it was a real privilege teaching in the Euromaster again. We had exciting discussions. I hope I learned you something, but I definitely also learned from you. These are challenging times. There is definitely a crack in the system these days. It provoked extensive debates, but when there's a crack in the system, it also gives the possibility for the light to come through, and I think it's up to you to be the light, and I count on that and I believe in that. Congratulations.
We are also very honored to have some professors in the room with us, and we would like maybe to introduce those who are here, and you'll be able to see them during the refreshments that are posed afterwards. But we have the co-director of the LLM program, Professor Tony Llores. You have the pleasure of seeing Carolina Butz twice. Professor Carolina Butz is here. Yeah. And Professor Harry Kalimo. Who is familiar to both programs, I believe. So yeah. Thank you very much for being here and sharing this moment with us as well. It's a great honor for us.
Yeah, perhaps we also want to say thank you for all the BSoG staff that supported both programs. Also, as I said, during those years, or particularly for the LLM during the last year. And particularly, we would like to thank Marion that she was with us with this period, trying to arrange new schedules on the calendar, trying to cope with all the last minute issues that we had during this year. And so she is in her last year at the BSoG, so she is not here, but we want to say to her, thank you.